Good evening, welcome to another episode of Easy 8's Online Painting Club. My name's Danny. For the next 2 hours I'm going to be sitting here painting my miniatures, hopefully keeping you guys company, motivated, maybe inspired to do some work at the same time, because we all know it can be a little bit tricky sometimes when you've got a big old pile of grey plastic that just needs painting, getting a bit of colour on it, and sometimes it can be really tricky just trying to work your way through that mountain of stuff. This is the first Friday that we've been online for a couple of weeks, because last Saturday, of course, we were all the way up north in the country at Recon, at the Recon show out there, run by the wonderful guys at the Pit Gaming Store. Thank you so much for running that and inviting us along once again, Matt and team. It was really, really kind of you. Thank you so much. We had a great time. I'm going to talk about it lots throughout the show. I had a wonderful time. We met loads of people. We engaged with loads of people. We introduced loads of people to the idea of Easy 8 and just having an online painting club, a place where you can come along and paint your stuff knowing that there's someone else struggling at exactly the same time, because that's what this is all about. I'm just an every guy painter. I'm nothing special. There's loads of that stuff out there already, so if you want to go out and maybe find like a tutorial and stuff, there's loads of that sort of stuff out there already. So I implore you, go and find those guys because they're really cool. But not right now, because you're here with me on Easy 8. Now, one thing I have noticed going into this evening's show, the music's in a different place. Like, normally we start on a different song. Don't know why it did that. Genuinely don't know why it did that. So yeah, look, we got some music. It's doing its thing. It's going to be at a different place. It's going to be a bit weird. Staff says, I hear the music. I don't quite know what you're referencing about, but yeah, obviously on the weekend when I was up at Recon, I was running off a different computer. For some reason, there were a lot of ghosts in the system. I didn't really know what was going on. I could see the graphic equalizer saying, "Oh, there's music playing." And there was no music playing, and then there was music playing, but I couldn't hear it, but everybody else could. It was a little bit weird. And of course, the week before, when I was here in the studio, I had a lot of problems. Well, I had one problem. It was just very continuous with my camera. This camera here, which was, well, it just stopped working. It just froze, which meant that you couldn't see what I was doing here. So for most of the show, you're just looking at my face and I'm talking about some cool stuff that I'm doing. So, yeah, unfortunately, that happens on a live stream. If it was a recorded show, which this ain't, if it was a recorded show, I could just go back, refilm a few things, edit it a little bit. It required me just to stop the software from running, restart it, and it worked absolutely fine. I'm really sorry about that. The last time that we all got together, I tried to make it as professional as I possibly can, just so that it's nice to kind of view and be a part of. But sometimes it doesn't go that well. I've got a hair in my eye. It's making my eye twitch. Like I say, it's unscripted and it's completely, yeah, it's completely live, warts and all. So I've been doing a bit of setting up today, trying to get everything back in top shape, ready for tonight's show. Because obviously I've been away, I had to take a lot of the equipment away. And one thing I have noticed is that this camera is still being a little bit twitchy. It hasn't frozen. You can still see very clearly what I'm doing, but you might see the occasional digital glitch on the screen. I'm gonna say that's normal. I don't really know if it should well, no, of course it shouldn't happen, but I don't know if it's going to cause more problems along the line. I want your feedback. If it's causing you real grief watching the program, then I want to know about it. I do have a spare one. I just haven't got around to swapping it out because it just the cables go through some things that are attached to the wall and whatever. And if it's really causing us some grief, then I'll swap it out. It might just be that this poor old camera's coming to the end of its life. And I'll just turn it into my travel camera, which is exactly the same. So, yeah, hopefully it doesn't bother you too much. But I want your genuine feedback. I want to know if it's bad, if you're suffering. I want to know if it's good, and you can inflate my ego, and that will be cool. Thank you so much. Anyway, if you like Easy 8, if you like me, or even if you don't, but you just like what it's all about and you like the idea of it, then please do consider subscribing to the show, because we are starting to grow. It's a little bit now since we went away to Recon. We had a few more people, so if you are watching this for the first time, welcome to the show, welcome to the Easy 8 family, the community, and if you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button, hit the little bell icon, because sometimes I go away and do a little show somewhere and I'll go completely off script and I'll just do something unplanned, and it'll be nice for you to find out when that is with the bell icon. That's what it's for. Hit subscribe. If you like, you can join in the live chat with these crazy people over here. I say crazy because sometimes the live chat gets a bit spicy, but it is family friendly. Keep it family friendly, guys, so that you can bring your kids along. We had a lot of kids coming to the Recon show. It was really nice to see families coming along and being interested. Yeah, it was really humbling. It was really nice to know that people liked the idea of Easy 8 and cared about what it was trying to do. I've had a lot of people over the years, a lot of people actually, saying that it's really important to have this for their mental health. And I am I'm at the forefront of mental health. I think it's really important. I worked a lot with it when I was working in my previous job, mental health first aider. And while that might sound insignificant, I suppose, it's a big deal, man. And the more that we kind of become more aware of it, the more important I find. It's just really important. It's an essential thing. And if you enjoy this, if it's a part of your mental health journey, then I'm humbled to help you along the way. So I was going to stop doing it after COVID. People said, no, please don't do it. So here we are. Subscribe, that'd be great. Do you know what? If you can give it a thumbs up right now, that'll be great. I'll just give you a second. I'm going to drink my tea. If you just go up, just down there somewhere, there's a little thumbs up button. Just hit that. Every time you hit the thumbs up button, every time you comment on a video in the past, or you talking on the live chat or whatever, it spreads the word around a little bit. It affects the algorithm. All hail the algorithm. So, cheers. My Easy 8 coaster that Stafford printed off for me. We gave loads of those away when we went to the show. Who would have thought? Cardboard coasters. Brilliant. So I've got one in the studio now. Cheers, Stafford. Oh, that is a good cup of tea. Anyway, here we are. Friday, weekend. Happy weekend, everybody. For those of you that are working, I am still unemployed. I do have a job coming up, but not until the new year. So I just get there, sit around and make the studio really, really messy. Who have we got in the live chat today? I've gone a little bit off-piste. I've gone a little bit off the rails. Loads of people hanging around in the live chat. We've got Crumb Studio, Table of Horrors. Hi, guys. We've got Stafford. Hello, mate. We've got... I'm sure I saw... There's Kess. Yeah, Kess is in there as well. And we've got Jeff. Jeff's my dad. Hi, Dad. And I'm sure there'll be some more people coming along in a little bit too. Welcome to the show, everybody. If you are watching the show but you don't want to talk, you can just hit the little heart icon. There's a little heart icon down there. And there's a few of you doing that. So if you've got the little heart icon, just smash that little button for me as well. Just let me know that you're watching. That'd be great. Anyway, what am I doing today? Do you know what? I'm just going to take you straight over to the workbench. Hopefully all the buttons are working. Hopefully there's no issues. Hopefully the camera's working. So let's just, I don't know, do a little prayer to the Omnissiah. Here we go, to the workbench. So here's the screen. It looks like it's all working, doesn't it? Yeah, I can see that I'm playing with the light there. Yeah, brilliant. Now you might see a few little digital glitches appearing. It's in the Matrix, I tell you, yeah. I know Kung Fu. You might see some digital glitches. They're to be expected. I wouldn't say that they're normal, but they're to be expected, and that is fine. But if it is really starting to affect your viewing pleasure, let me know. And do you know what? Sometimes when I'm looking down, I don't always look at the screen. If it freezes, I don't know, give me a call or something. So I've got, you can see here, loads of bits and pieces scattered all across the table here. So what have I got? What I've decided to do is I have several projects kind of going at the same time. I'm not a massive fan of doing multiple things at the same time because I'm so ADHD, I can't keep track of it, and then I'll put 6 of them away and I'll half finish one. But there's some method to my madness, and I'm going to desperately try and stay on track. I've got here components for the McFarlane Space Marine that I've had for nearly a year and not done anything with it. It's an artist-proof Dark Angel, so you can see here. It's got the Dark Angel symbol on the camera, if I can actually get in frame. He's also got it on his chest there as well. And I was thinking about not doing Dark Angels, scrubbing away the iconography, building my own, but I was like, do you know what? I've never painted the Dark Angel, don't really know much about them, so I'm going to go outside my comfort zone and I'm going to do something. They are as cleaned up as I can possibly clean them. They are really quite difficult to clean because it's not the same sort of injection moulded plastic that you'd get from a Games Workshop thing, because they're essentially action figures really. They're quite rubbery, so they got like a lot of flex in the plastic. Is kind of weird really. So it was quite difficult to clean up. It took me ages, and occasionally I'm still finding little bits and pieces. So as I find those bits, what I can do, come along with a little bit of a sanding pad and just try my best to get that down. And it is quite tricky. Light's a bit bleachy today, isn't it? Let's turn that down a little bit. Ooh, that's a bit better. A bit on the bright side. Everything's been kind of shuffled around and jiggled around because I took this light with me to Recon so that I could obviously light the work that I was doing up there. I only had a little project going on at the time, but still got to light it. Also, I find that sometimes if I move that light there and I move that light out there, that stops bleaching my hands out as well. I've got the palest skin in the winter. So, yeah. So I've got this project on the go at the same time. And bar that little bit there, which clearly I'd missed. I want to prep this at the same time as prepping my other project I've got lined up. And whilst I'm doing these two projects, I'm going to be prepping a third, and I won't be doing that on the show until it's time to actually get into the project. There's a lot of work to be done on it, and I've just got so many things to do. If I was just to kind of do them all one by one, I wouldn't get anywhere. And the whole point of the show is motivation and inspiration, and it's, you know, I've got to be able to motivate and inspire myself as well. I've got the same bit on this side. Yeah, there we are. Same part on both hands. Too busy looking at other areas. Not enough in these ones. It's really tricky. It's kind of, it's rubber. It's, I don't know. Not familiar with the material that it is. Or poke the camera in the eye. Now, taking these, if you've never done one before, it's going to be fun. It's going to be very, very different. It was very easy taking it apart, and they just kind of pop apart. But there are still some parts of it that you can see aren't popped apart. There's a couple of reasons for that. The first one is it's just a lot of parts at that point, isn't it? But also, like, some of these joints, like here in the middle here and then in the hands, they're really difficult to take apart. So I wasn't going to bother, basically. I could soak it in hot water and they just pop apart, nice and easy. But I'm going to end up struggling trying to put it all back together. Paint's going to come off as a natural course of handling it and putting the joints back together. So, for example, if I've got the leg and I've painted all in here, the moment I do this, it's going to wear some paint off. And I just have... This is going to be a really good project for me to stop getting precious about the projects that I'm painting. I spend far too much time working on a project and fanning around, basically, because I'm worried about what I'm going to do to it with my, you know, sausage fingers or whatever. There's going to be... Oh, look, I broke this. The reason I've got all of these on these sticks is so that I can hold them, spray them with an undercoat, and stick them into my porcupine polystyrene. But clearly this one here, I'm going to have to think outside the box on that one there, aren't I? Anyway, this is just a sideshow for another project. The reason I wanted to do the Space Marine is because I've had it for a long time. My dad, Jeff, in the live chat, gave it to me as a Christmas present. And I was really looking forward to doing it, and it's just sat on my shelf staring at me every time I come into the studio, and I'm not doing anything with it. You know what? You should stay there. Oh. Live show. There we are. Lovely. What I'm actually working on today is this wonderful 15mm Raven. This isn't an actual model that you can go out to the shops and buy. This is a mod... Oh, its foot's broken off. Oh, super glue. This is a model that Kess in the live chat donated to me, printed on her 3D printer, and is a big fan of Battletech. And we've played Battletech before together. We played Mech Warrior Online together and various other video games of the same franchise. A bit of a shame that snapped off, but I will easily be able to fix that. That's just a little toe. This is a really, really lovely, highly detailed 15mm model of my favourite mech. I absolutely love it. I think it's brilliant. And what I need to do is finish off getting the weapons put onto it. Last week, as the camera failed, I was starting to drill these little bits out on the side over here. I'm just going to sort out the zoom on my camera because I've been playing around with that earlier on, and that looks like it's a little bit out. I'll take the autofocus off as well because that's not doing us any favours, is it? There we go. That's as far as I can zoom in. Lovely. There we go. If I get about 20% focus, come on. We could do, there we are. Roughly here. That's good. There we are. I really just need to get a really decent camera for the desktop here. So I stopped last week at doing one side with the weapons, and I'm going to drill out the other side over here so that you guys can see what it is that I was doing. So I'm going to position my microphone a little bit easier. Here we go. And hopefully the microphone's got enough gain to pick up there. Go. Yeah, and I'm going to basically glue the components together. I was thinking about having the weapons just coming away so that I can paint them, but I think that's just going to be a bit too faffy. It is a small model at the end of the day. It feels larger than an infantry, obviously, but it's time just to get painting, isn't it? That's the whole point of this show. So I need to find a little. There's my little pin vice drill. I like to use a needle or a pin, and I find roughly the middle over here. It needs a bit of a clean-up because when Kess brought it to me, it was glued together. But the weapons were very, very delicate, which is why I'm going to pin them in place so that they don't come off in the future. Now, because I've broken that toe off, just sat on the side of it, I must have just dropped it onto the table. It got a bit damaged, perhaps a little bit. Very, very delicate. Very delicate resin in it. It does have a tendency to shatter under stress. I shatter under stress. So what I've got to do, and this is what I was doing last time before the camera, or just after the camera froze, is trying to find roughly, as accurately as I can, to be fair, the middle of this little circle, which is where the weapon is going to be mounted. And I'm going to do the same on this side over here. You can see sort of where there was a circle where it was glued on. Get into the focus range, there you go. So I've got to find is it close to the exact centre of that area as possible. And what I'm going to try and do is create a bit of a pilot hole, a guide for the pin vice drill to take effect in. So I find that the resin is really quite hard, and this little, it's just a sewing needle, hasn't really got the guts to make a big enough indent here. So just enough. Push a tiny little hole in. Then I've got another tool. This is used for cleaning out stubborn bits of dirt in the airbrush. It's basically a larger needle. It goes down to quite a point, not as sharp and pointy as the sewing needle. Got a flat edge for scraping the insides of cylinders. But what I do now is I find that original hole that I made a second ago, and I push harder with a much sturdier tip. Give it a bit of a twist, and that should then mark the middle of that area that I want to drill. Give it a bit of a wiggle around. There we go. And now push, drill into it, and just take my time bit by bit. There we go, and that helps me guide to the centre of that area as best as possible with this drill. If I didn't have that little bit, this would just be sat on a flat surface that would probably be moving around as I kind of worked it in, and it wouldn't necessarily. I've had some bad experiences trying to do like drilling out barrels and things like that on guns, and while it's not a precise science, it's as good as you can get with out machines, as far as I can tell. Now you might have another way of doing it. Let me know. I want to hear all about it. So if you're watching this back on the replay, drop it in the comments. I want to hear all about it. You can see the way that this, I don't know if you can you see how it's kind of flaking away, almost like the finest dandruff. That's what this kind of resin that you use in 3D printers is really peculiar. Has a similar property to the resin that you find from Forge World products, where when you're filing or scraping or whatever, it crumbles into a really fine powder. Really bizarre. Bit of a mess on your worktop. That's probably why the toe snapped off. It probably just shattered because of the, I don't know, properties of it. Now I could use a little power drill. I do have one, but because it's quite easy to drill, if I got it wrong early doors, I would probably end up really ruining it. And I just don't want to have to swap out between drill after drill after drill. So I'm just going to use the pin vise. Now I can go quite deep on the side here because I've got all the way through the body here to drill if I want to. I'm not going to go all the way through, but I am going to drill a decent amount in there so that I've got, I'll put my fingernail up against the end there like that and pull the drill out. I know that I've gone in that far. I'll get a good idea of how far that's gone in. Wonderful. Here, any dusty bits off there? I think actually this one's probably more accurate than that one over there. And even though that's still ever so slightly off, it's not really going to matter that. Now what I need to do is do it on the weapon. You can see that I've done it on this weapon here last week. But obviously this one doesn't go as deep. Yeah. So straight in for the big needle this time. Quite tricky. Go back to the smaller needle. It's just got that really fine point that helps just bite into the resin. There, I can see it there. Give it a bit of a spin, and that flat edge I think helps just to kind of scrape out that hole, and then I'm basically just getting the very tip of that drill bit into that hole. Just give it a couple of rotations, and just see if it bites into that area. Checking it because you can like angle the drill and you know, redirect where you want to go. You've got to get that down as early as you can because after a certain point it's just going. I like to give it a couple of spins in the right direction and then just go like an anti-spin. It just kind of helps pull all the detritus out. I like that word, detritus. Put a little bit of pressure onto it so that it is biting into it. It's easy just to kind of sit there and spin it around in the hole. You do want it to be biting in, but being very careful this time. It's a very thin area that I could end up drilling through quite easily. So I've got to be careful with that. And I've got a really cool colour scheme. I want to paint this fella. I'm going to prime it black, I think. There's going to be some silver bits, grey bits, blue bits, and some, I think, teal, maybe? Turquoisey teal colours. So let's see how far that. Got the drill. I can see that it's gone in maybe about 1.5 mm, 2 mm maximum. I'm going to go for a little bit more. Now I can see, yeah, easily 2 to 2.5 mm. That is a guesstimation, of course. I don't really know how far that is. Now I could sit here and look at trying to fix that toe on with a pin. I probably should do, but I'm going to worry about that a little bit later on because right now I just kind of want to get priming it. Very, very thin, narrow area there. You can see why it has snapped off. Going. My camera is a little bit too far back. That's a little bit better. There we go. Right, oh, I need some tea. Yum yum. Righto. So, what I need to do now, I suppose, is just get priming. With the Space Marine thing here, because the things are so huge, so big, it's easier for me to hold them on these sticks. I could, of course, do exactly the same with the Raven parts, but I don't. I think I'm just going to try and hold it, paint it, come back to it. So essentially only going to have 2 parts to paint. First thing at first is that I want to glue these parts on. So I've got here a paper clip. This is quite a big chunky paper clip. It's got that rubber coating on it. And I use these for pinning because I find the chunkiness brilliant. Found in my toolbox the other day. These are the best clippers that I've ever had. They're actually for a mountain bike or for bike repairs. They're for cutting gear cables. Gear cables and brake cables. The best thing about them is not only are they really high tensile steel, but they're circular, so you can see that it wraps around, so that you don't often get that flat pinch mark like a screwdriver tip, if you like, when you're cutting metal bits, and they just make real short work of it as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bend that bit out there. I try not to waste any part of it, but I do just leave the little circular bits until later on when I can be bothered to straighten them out with a pair of pliers. I'm going to cut this bad boy off around about here, where that bend sort of starts. You can see there's a bit of a crease there. So you do got to be careful about bits pinging off, but this will go through this like butter. There you go. No effort was had. I am going to just strip the rubber off of that. Probably should have done that before I cut it off, right? There's probably a whole load of you right now at home going like, oh my god, this is where he cuts his thumb open. It's a lot easier than it looks. I wouldn't have been doing that live on the show if I thought there was any chance of me slipping there. That was peeling away easier than it probably looked. I knew I had control of that. I know famous last words and all, but I knew my limits. I think in all the years, the only really catastrophic thing that's ever happened on this show was when I was talking about how awesome my little nippers were. Nipping plastic sprues. Just as I was saying, they are the best nippers I've ever had. They literally exploded and shattered into shards across the studio, leaving me feeling like a bit of an idiot. But it was a freak thing, man. They are really good clippers. I still got them there, minus one side of the tip. What can you do? Tip's back again, so I want to cut it in half now. Now I might be just wasting one part of this. I might need like longer, but who knows. Really good cutters. So I need to make sure that it's the right size, I suppose. So what I do is I hope that I've got the right drill bit size, because that'll be a bit annoying, won't it? Let's just slot that into that hole. I can see that it's sticking out a little bit. I know that this one's going to go on this side here, and I'm going to push that in, and I can see that there's a good 2-3 mil that needs cutting off in there. That's fine. I can see that actually on this bit here, there's still a little bit of a bend from where I didn't cut it close enough. So that's the bit that's going to go. I'm going to not mix my bits of wire. I'm going to pop that one over. I find all this part of the job really, really fun. A little bit of oil on these. It just kind of made that little tiny bit stick there. Pieces to pull them out. Hopefully that's enough. See the pickup now. And now just basically excuse me, rinse, repeat. Push them in. Still not far enough yet. Now I could just drill the hole into the body that little bit further. I think it's just quicker doing it this way. I think that is it. Could actually do with being a fraction more, and I'm talking like nanometers. So for this bit, I am just going to push the drill bit into a little bit further. That's just to stop it kind of, the weapon sitting on there, because it's not flush up against the resin perfectly, there's a tendency for it to kind of want to do that, and I don't want it to do that. So just going to drill it a little bit further out. Do you know what? I haven't even asked if you guys are working on projects this evening. Maybe you guys have already said that you're working on projects and I've just not been keeping an eye on it, but I've, you know, I suppose I had a lot to say at the beginning of the show, right? If you're working on something this evening, I really am genuinely interested. I'd love for you guys to tell me all about it. I'm inspired by the wonderful stuff that you do. You can take pictures of it up or not here, just on YouTube. We're on Facebook, Instagram and Discord. Please do come and tell me all about it. Take pictures of your work if you want to. Feel free to post it all over my social media accounts, which you can find links to all downstairs down there in the description of the video. So please go and check it all out. Take photos of your stuff. I want to see it. Absolutely love seeing all your stuff, so please do. Excellent. Right, super glue, here we go. Using a lot of this lately. So what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to glue it into this side first, because I want there to be as much purchase in the smaller hole, because the hole in this side here goes really, really deep. So I want it to go in there. If it is cut a little bit too short, this piece of wire, I want it to grip as much as I can into that smallest bit. So I'm going to wait for the glue. Take his time. Starting to run out a little bit of some of my resources. A bit of a stab through. Working on a Vindicare, not that you care. I do care. I can see you trying to make a play on words there. That rhymes. You can have that one. I do care, and I want to see it. I love Vindicares, actually. Thank you very much. A rifle assassin for the Warhammer 40,000 universe, if those of you that don't know out there. Got a bit of a weird shadow on my face. Let's move my light down a little. It's a bit better. There we go. Not that I'm vain. Nice to be able to see my face. Got a haircut the other day, thank you. I'd love to see your Vindicare, please. Are you going to paint it in traditional colours, just like the black leather, silver mask kind of a thing? Or are you going to do some sort of camouflage? Or are you going to match it up with a uniform or something? World's your oyster, right? Do what you want with it. Okie dokie. I've got some glue in that hole and on that surface there. So, of course, without getting it all over my fingertips, I'm going to pop that little piece of wire in there. Lovely. Not going to hit it with any activators yet, because you can see that it will lean around, and the glue, while it is, you know, super glue is pretty instant, and it'll take a second really to do anything there. I'm going to pop a little bit of glue on the top here, and then I'm going to pop a little bit on top of the wire as well, so that it'll push loads of glue in. Come on now, glue. There we go. Little bit on that surface, and a little bit on the top there. I don't want too much, because there will be that thing where the glue kind of squirts out the sides and you won't be able to see it very much, but I try to limit it as best I possibly can. Here we go. Squeeze it in there. Now it's hinged. I was going to try and make it hinged. For what purpose? Just try and make it as level as possible so that it doesn't look a little bit weird. And there we are. That's not really coming off so well. So that worked out really well. Let that dry for a second, pop my lid back on my glue, and now I'm going to work on the other bit. I'm sort of working on a project for Kess, but shh, it's a secret project. Cool. Well, as soon as you can talk about it, please, guys. I'd love to know more about it. Come and tell us all about it. We'll keep it a secret between us. I'm not going to say that. I'm not touching that with a barge pole. Told you it gets spicy, didn't I? Right, so bigger weapon, but the hinge connecting point is still probably just as thin as it is on the other side. Can confirm that it's exactly the same. So again, I still need to cut off 2-3 millimeters in there easily. So yeah, pull that out. Normally I work on like audio cues, like when the music's getting to a certain point I know that, oh, we're coming up to a break, but for some reason the music's done a weird thing. So I can't. Gotta keep looking at the time and making sure that we're not like missing the intermission or anything like that. A little bit there. I know that that's going to be too big still, but I'd rather have too much now, and then rather than cut off too much. Yeah, still got a millimeter in there easily. But these clippers are absolutely key to making this really, really smooth. If anyone was wondering, Cranks is the brand. Like I say, they are for like bike parts, etc. Chopping down gear cables and brake cables. Of course, brake cables and stuff are really high tensile, so they've got to have a lot of strength to them. So cutting through them with pliers, and I've tried, is just rubbish. Making the Spanish Inquisition. No one expects that. Oh, true. True. Okay, I think. Do you know what? Looks like it could be doing with a little bit more. So, back in with the drill, just to buzz out a little bit, like another nanometer, micrometer. Stop pushing it, it'll fall over. Going for the traditional black, but using Leviathan blue. Oh, someone commented just at the last minute as I was reading that comment from Table of Horrors. Going for the traditional black, but using Leviathan blue contrast instead of an actual black because I'm just so adventurous. Do you know blue is actually a really good colour to accentuate black, like dry brushing or highlighting or something like that. So I'd be really interested to see what Leviathan blue does to it. So yeah, photos please, either on Facebook or Discord, if you're so inclined to keep us up to date with the progress of your model. That is really interested to see that. I think actually, in my head, I've kind of got like an idea as to what that would look like, and I think you might be onto a winner there. Did you, from the last time that we were online here in the studio, did you find a decent way to do the gold on your Blood Angels? Those of you that are not in the knowledge, we'll talk about all the different ways that you could create gold by putting filters and grimes or things like that over the top of silver, and we experimented between the two of us, lots of different ways to do that, and we didn't really come up with one that I didn't find one that I was particularly happy with, but I think Shiv found a couple. So yeah, hence the question, I suppose. Bit of glue in there. Pin. Come on. Didn't want to go in the hole. Family show. Almost there. Bit bubbly. Here we go. Line it up with that hole. And boom. I think that has worked beautifully. Now those lasers, for that is what they are, a little heavier on the nose. So I've just got to hold them flat, and then you can check on the camera, it's quite easy to see there. I want to make sure that in this plane as well, that the barrels of the gun aren't pulling down too much this way, because it's on a hinge that would bend in as many different directions as it can. You can see that actually, if I give it a little bit of a lift, that's better, isn't it? Now the glue is just starting to take effect, and just feel it starting to stiffen up a little bit. There we go. Done. Pinned. Now I probably will do the same on his toe a little bit later on, but I think that I'm going to have to find a much smaller piece of wire and therefore much smaller drill bit. So just to kind of keep the show moving a little bit, I think I'm just going to move on from there. And yes, time to get a bit of paint. It's a painting show after all, right? Sorry, Kess, for breaking the toe. Excuse me. I've actually got some really tiny twine wire. Do you know, like the sort of wire that comes when you buy an action figure, and it's got some wire that's twizzled and keeps it to a cardboard backer? I've got some of that sort of wire lying around somewhere, and it's really, really thin. Like, I could maybe use something like that, or something a little bit thicker maybe. Put a couple of strands together, make a really fine hole. And it's not to make it so strong that it will never bend or break, but it just helps have a little bit of grip for the glue there. Otherwise it's just two pieces that are glued. If they're really, really, really tiny, there's really hardly any glue, rather than two massive pieces put together where there's lots of glue there holding it. It's only as strong as the glue that you've got, so having that extra surface essentially is what makes it. Right, so I'm going to spray in black, an undercoat black, a primer black, if you will. Looks so awesome. Lasers, short-range missiles, NARC, which is like a missile that other missiles can lock onto, and that's a laser tag. So yeah, got a few bits of rubbish in there. More the drilling, perhaps. Any little bits of dust or rubbish on them now will kind of get locked in permanence with the paint I'm about to spray on. So I'm just going to get this brush here, nice and soft, magnetic brush, and I like the shape of it because it means I can get into all these little areas like this and just brush off any dust or crap on him. A little bit in the barrels there of the lasers. Lovely. Legs while we're at it. Being careful with his amputated toes. Wonderful. Right, have a little tidy up. Nearly knocked my tea all over the desk. Excellent. Pop that safe. Cool. I've got some tape because I can see me wanting to mask off areas when I'm airbrushing. I want to try and airbrush as much as possible. I was going to go for not truly a digital camo scheme on him, because I think that would just be really, really tricky at my painting level. I don't think I could do it on a model this size and make it look really good. Also, there's just so many angles and bits on him that I'd have to use stencils. I don't have them. I don't really want to use that on there. But if you can remember, and I don't have them to hand unfortunately, the 15mm mouse that I painted, the German concept tank, I did kind of a Dazzle battleships effect camouflage on him, just for funsies. I was inspired by a picture I saw on Instagram, and I was like, that's what I'm doing. Kind of similar to that. In fact, I've got a picture right here so that you can see it. Sure that my phone safe to bring up in front of people's. Here we go. So this is a catapult K2, no less, where the big guns on top here are normally missile racks, but this is done in the exact paint scheme colour, the colours that I want to use. So you can see, if I zoom in, we've got metal parts, they're painted silver, and if we look on the body here, we've got grey parts, we've got blue parts, and we've got, like, looks like a teal or a turquoise. Not really a digital camo, but just kind of bitty. I'm not going to worry about iconography or anything like that at all. It's too small for me to worry about. It seems a little specialist, a little niche for something that I don't do a lot of, so I'm not going to worry about any of that. The cockpit will need to be orange because I believe that is a particular thing in the universe. That's fun, and you can see that the cockpit frame as well is actually done in metalwork on there as well. So paint it all black is a nice base colour to paint. All the other paints can sit on it, and then I'm going to do some silver parts on it and then work my way up through grey, etc, etc. So yeah, there we go. And for those of you wondering what the not a secret, but I like to tease you guys what the next project coming up is after this one and the marine, is a little sneaky look there. There you go. Right, and my phone's safely to the side. A quick time check. Brilliant. Nearly coming up to an intermission. Right. I'm not one of those people that likes to spray paint or put paint really all over my worktop. This has been here for 5 years, and while it's a little bit grubby and a little bit painty, it's in much better condition than it could be. So I just get a bit of paper and then I can spray down on top of that, and I go through one of those every now and then. Airbrush was a little bit grubby, so I'll just give it a quick clean up before we went live. Looks like it could do maybe with a bit more of a clean out. Might give it another once over. We'll see how that goes. Cool. And the paint that I'm going to be using, very, very simply, black primer. I've got different colour primers for different projects. Black is really the one that I've heard people say is the one that we should be using a lot of. Black is the best base colour unless you've got a pigment that won't really affect it, like yellows and oranges are absolutely shocking to go over anything dark. So if I'm doing yellow or orange, I will use white. Sometimes I'll go down to a grey, but black is really a good base colour. You can do all sorts of effects with it in terms of like lighting or zenith or work or highlighting work, like pre-highlighting. So black really should be the colour that we go to. Don't let me tell you what to do though, I'm not very good. You go and do your own thing. Lindy Lauper is a painter. She wants to see your true colours. I don't know where we're going with this. I've come in halfway through a conversation here. Cindy Lauper. Okay, cool. As long as Papa don't preach. Yeah, I'm right in the middle of a pun war here, aren't I? No. Okay, cool. There's no point in me trying to keep up there. I'm not doing it. Quick check on this. Seems to be working okay. What I will do, give the quick first. The live chat, man, it gets me every time. I can't keep up with you. I'm gonna put a little bit of water through there just to see if there's anything that needs loosening up. Got my little purge tank. It's because the last time I was in the studio, one of the last things I did was I used varnish, and I didn't give it a proper clean afterwards. And varnish isn't like paint; it's just liquid resin that air dries, and it's really nasty, really aggressive on the inside of the airbrush. And it's one of those things that I like to leave till the end of a project, and then you really should strip your airbrush down, soak it, and put it in a sonic bath or something. It's terrible stuff. I suppose that's the whole point of a varnish, isn't it? Is to protect whatever it is that you're painting. Just looking for good needle movement. Seems I've got that. The end of that needle, just make sure it's nice and clean. A little cotton bud here a minute ago. Don't know what I've done with that. It's gone walkabouts. My McFarlane Marine. Wanted to make sure there was nothing really on the end of it, so that there's less chance of the paint coming out clogging up. Cool. I normally count the drops. I'm not going to worry about that today. I'm going to put a tiny bit of thinner in there. I don't really use thinner an awful lot anymore. I like to use airbrush flow improver. There are a few things that I do use thinner for. Varnish is absolutely one of them. And primer, because primer is just that little bit more thicker, maybe. A bit more aggressive as a paint. And I should have taken my advice from last week where you put the thinner in first, but I was blabbering on and didn't really pay any attention to what I was thinking. Mix it up. Mix. Use a crappy old paintbrush so that I can get right down inside the paint chamber of the airbrush there. And if I have got a bit of a blockage, what's going to happen is that's going to start bubbling up in the hopper, and it could, there's a danger of it starting to fly around everywhere. So I do have lid for brush somewhere here. Somewhere in this area there is a cap. I've located the cap, so if it gets a bit messy, right, I'm going to hold it here and I'm going to start with the legs, do the feet. So a bit of a flow test. Went out a bit spotty. There is probably a blockage in the nozzle. So yeah, alright. You know, point taken, I should have cleaned this properly out. Increase the pressure a little bit. Rightio. As long as I'm not getting too much spider webbing or too much spattering, I think I'll be okay. I'm going to go on super thin just to help that build up. Should have done a smaller amount in the hopper so that if I started encountering this problem, it would have been quicker for me to clean out. But, you know, I'm there now. Learn from my mistakes. If you are new to this show and you joined me recently, maybe you saw me at Recon or something, and I said that, you know, I'm not good, I'm an everyday painter, I make mistakes because other people don't. One kidding. How are your projects coming on this evening? If you're working on something, I really do truly want to know about it. So come and tell me. You can take photographs. You can put them up on Facebook, Discord. We're also on Instagram, but of course you can't put your photos up on my Instagram account. They're just for me to show you. So yeah, take a little photo if you want to. Come and tell us all about it. Facebook's a very active part of our community, but I know that not all of you are on Facebook. That's fine. You don't have to do that. You don't have to go on to Facebook. You can go wherever you want. Whoopsie daisy. Now, if I actually clean my airbrush out, this would be, I'd be through the legs of this by now. Giggity. I've got a lot of different tastes when it comes to models, different things that I like to do. I'm one of those guys that just likes painting models, likes making models, making things. Small worlds, right? Little worlds. I love it all. But I am a war gamer at heart, primarily, I think. And my main war game, like a lot of people in my generation, I suppose, Warhammer 40,000 is my first love of games, war games. So I like to do, and I have a lot of to do, Warhammer 40,000 miniatures that are probably older than a lot of people that I know. And that's just, you know, one of the curses of being the average wargamer modeler is that you just end up with a lot of stuff to paint, right? So I've got a lot of stuff to do on this show that is Warhammer 40,000 and similar. But it's really nice to do something different from time to time, and I've really been looking forward to having a set of, you know, projects that aren't 40k related. Now I suppose you could argue that the Big Space Marine is a 40k thing, and it is, but it is not really a wargaming piece, right? So it's still very different enough for me, and I like to make sure that for the audience that Easy 8 can cater for is a little bit of everything, because not everybody's into 40k. I get it, I like it. It's one of my favourite is the universes in terms of fantasy story times, etc. But I get it's not everyone's cup of tea. I also really am really into the Second World War in terms of history. I live not too far away from the Tank Museum in Bovington. I've said it a million times before, and there's a bunch of people in the live chat that enjoy going on road trips with me. And we just go and stand in the middle of the museum and go, tanks. I love tanks. I love painting them. I love making them. And I've got loads of stuff to do with them as well. And it's nice to mix it up. And it's just nice to do something different for the crowd that are out there. You guys, you know. See something different. So I like to do a project that's 40k, and then do a project that isn't, and then do a project that's 40k and alternate between the two, just to kind of break it up a little bit. And Kez has really been harking on at me for a while now. Do a Battletech thing, do a Battletech thing. I'm like, well, I love Battletech, but don't really have any Battletech. So Kez went and made me a Battletech miniature, so I'm kind of forced into this situation at the moment to paint Battletech. But what a lovely model, and, you know, made for me. Kez is a personal friend of mine, and we've played Battletech together and the various video games that are out there for years. And I really like the Raven. Kez knows it's my favourite because its main role is like a scout mech or a support mech. And the idea is that you send one of these things out there, not really as an offensive thing, but it's got a lot of electronic countermeasures. It's very much into disrupting enemy units, lasing them so that they become a Christmas tree for incoming missiles. And in the video games you get like points based on it. We used to get a lot of points based on that, as if you were making hits or kills yourself, but you're kind of getting like support points. But the game that we play, MechWarrior Online, sort of evolves a lot as updates come out to try and make it a bit more balanced or a bit more fair, or to take certain advantages away that people find, because people will find them, and just kind of rest on that for a while. And whilst it's kind of come back into favour a little bit recently, it's still not as good as it ever was. I haven't played the Raven for a while, but I just like running off right at the beginning of a match and trying to get right around the back of the enemy, and then coming up behind them with a Narc gun, which is basically a missile that latches on, I suppose, magnetically latches on, and then just sends a signal to all friendly missiles and radars so that you can't lose your lock, and then, you know, your homing missiles will just home in, your non-homing missiles become homing missiles essentially. Just blasting it with a bit of cold air just to help agitate some of that paint into drying a little faster. If this was summer, it would be much easier for the paint to dry, but I actually quite like it this time of year because it means you get a little bit more working time and you're not constantly having to replenish your brush or your airbrush, etc. Now, said right at the beginning, didn't I? All my audio cues are out today. For some reason, the music's doing its weird thing. Don't really know why it's like that. But we are going to be going to... I've been playing around with some of my menus. They're a little bit all over the place. There we go. We're going to go to a break in just a few minutes, so I'm going to change the screen now. Here we go. I had an update on my Stream Deck, which are the buttons that allow me to do all my different options, and it's that on top of having a weird audio thing today. It's a little bit too much. I don't like change. If if you're new and you are expecting a really cool show, I'm really sorry. Maybe I just oversold it, maybe. Met some lovely people. I met some really wonderful people when we went to Recon, and I know that we've got a couple of extra subscribers. If you are one of those new subscribers that we've had since, thank you so much for subscribing. This isn't a job. It will never be a job. It's a hobby. I do the two as hobbies work inside. The hobby of running a show makes me find time for this hobby of painting, which I absolutely love. I love connecting with you guys and sharing stories and talking with you afterwards on Discord and meeting people all over the country. You know, we watched all over the world, as far around as India, the Philippines. I think someone came up a little while ago in the Philippines. We used to have a viewer in Australia. I don't know if we got 2 Australians right that the viewers right now, and over in the US we've got quite a few people in the US. So we are watched all over the world. By making sure that I'm always going to be online, I dedicate that little bit of time every week to make sure that, because I've got to do it for other people, I'm doing it for myself. Otherwise I just fall out of the habit of painting, you know, and it's just, that's not okay. So the legs I think are done. I might give them another quick coat in a minute, especially with the amount of paint I've still probably got in the hopper. I definitely need to clean the airbrush out, so I'll probably do that in the break in just a second. Got a little bit of paint left over, so just giving the torso here a bit of a light dusting, getting that first layer down. We've got some barrels that I need to make sure to get a little bit of primer in there at least. There we go. I don't want to go too heavy there, because if I'm missing the actual hole of the barrel, I'm going to be getting it all over the body somewhere. It's probably going to be going on quite thick, so I want to be very careful there. But considering how temperamental the airbrush is being and how bad it can be, it's not, touch wood, been too bad right now. A couple of big drops there that just came off the needle tip, but they're underneath, so that's fine. Okay, I probably should have not have done one side so I could put it down. Oh, I'm so clever. Can I catch up with these guys in the live chat? These guys are just yabbering. It's been a couple of weeks and they needed to connect. They need this more than me. I'm quirky. I want to hear you say that, Steve. I will on Discord. You're not going to clip that and use it as a ringtone. He probably is, mate. You know what he's like, don't you? Haven't had a phone call for about 8 years. Make some more friends, mate. Right, there we go. Literally just putting some air onto this painted surface just to help it dry. Just so, more than anything, I can put it down. Cool. There we go. So, for those of you that are new here and don't really know, I feel called out by Danny. Those of you who don't know, I'm going to go away for a 10-minute break. I'm going to leave you with some lovely jazz music. Going to come back after 10 minutes. I'm going to go stretch my legs, refocus my eyes. Probably going to start cleaning out the airbrush. But more importantly, because it's the weekend, I'm going to go and get myself a grown-up juice. You know, an alcoholic beverage. You should, go and get yourself one if you're so inclined. Drink responsibly, kids. Don't go and drink just because Danny told you to go and drink. But it's an evening show now, isn't it? Anyway, I'm starting to blabber on. I told you it wasn't scripted. Go change your paint water or something. Be responsible. See you in 10. Bye-bye. And welcome back. I've been told that there was like a loop on the music or like two tracks playing at the same time. That's an old bug that used to affect me back in the early days of Easy 8, and for some reason, probably since I've been away doing Recon, something changing changing the PC to my laptop has probably kind of brought that bug back. Hopefully there is no double track playing in the background now. This is the sort of thing that I was talking about at the beginning, where if there's something that's bugging you, if there's something that's affecting your experience, let me know, because I might be able to, hopefully like I've just done, should be able to sort it out. Early doors. Anyway, welcome back from the break. I've been and got myself a grown-up juice because it's the weekend. Happy weekend, everybody. Happy Friday. I hope you guys are having a great week. I certainly am. So to you and to the weekend and to your painting, cheers, everybody. That is mostly vodka and Coke. Yeah. Okay, we'll go easy on that before we carry on painting. Fortunately, there's no detail work to be done today. Or at least I won't be getting any done. Yeah, if you're working on something this evening, come and tell me all about it. I'd love to know. So if you've got a project on the go, painting, maybe building, do you know what? You don't even have to be doing a hobby thing. It could be just, I don't know, watching the TV and you've just got me on as a little bit of background noise. And do you know what? I'm flattered. Thank you so much. People do. I love that. It's really nice to be a part of people's lives. So thank you for letting me be a part of it. But come and tell me about whatever it is that you're working on this evening. I'm tripping over my words. Just excited to be back, man. And if you haven't done already, please do consider subscribing to the show. It is the subscribers that make the community grow, and I make this show for you, for the community, to bring everybody together. We all, hopefully, enjoy the hobby. We're all very passionate about it. And one of the things that I really enjoy about going away, like I did last weekend, is I get to meet loads and loads of people. And I get to meet all the people that have their own like jobs, or like they're traders or they're service providers and stuff. There's just such a wonderful wealth of people out there. And what I want to do is I just kind of connect everybody and just bring everybody together. Like free advertising, I suppose, if you want to call it that. Like, I don't do advertising. I have a very small audience. Maybe one day we'll be well into all that sort of stuff. There's no reason why we shouldn't be. But while I was away at Recon, I met a large amount of people just popping in as visitors, but also all these different traders. And I could sit here and talk about every single one of them right now, but I'd end up just kind of clogging this part of the show. So what I'm going to do over the next few weeks is I'm just going to introduce you to like one out of the few that I met every week. Now, I did have the business card, but I left it downstairs when I was just feeding the cats in the intermission, and I left it on the sofa. But the first one I know is definitely going to be Brooks Models. So if you have a little look down in the description of this video downstairs, you will see that I've put in the, like cool places to go and check out. There's a whole bunch of new links and things in there. I really want you to go and check out all of them, but I want you to start with Brooks Models. Brooks Models was literally positioned behind us as a trader. And they just such nice people. They were on the stage and we were below the stage, so they were able to look over and see what we were doing, have a chat with us, etc. And I went and bought a few bits and pieces from them, and I just had a stinking headache the whole day. And I think it's just down. I didn't drink enough water during the previous day, and it was a long trip up and whatever. They like going out of their way to find me, like painkillers and things, and just generally being really, really nice people. Thanks, guys. If you're watching this now, or even like later on in the replay, I really appreciate that. Like, it was really nice. It's nice to meet nice people. Sounds daft, but it made a really big impact on me. But Brooks Models just sell like so many different materials and resources and things that you want for any of your modelling projects, be it paints or glues or fillers or tools or anything like that. Just so much of it there, and for really, really good prices. I mean, most of the people that were there that I went and had a look at, when I went and looked at everybody, were just, the prices were really, really good. There was no one like taking a mick or trying to rip people off. And what I did notice from all the traders at Recon is that people don't step on other people's toes, and I just think that's like really good trading manners. I've never seen that in other places. So like one person would be selling this type of paint, but this person over here won't be selling that type of paint, so they don't like affect what their business is. And I got talking to Brooks Models because they said, oh, what paints are you using there? I can see you using something like AK, is it? And I was like, yeah, I really like AK Interactive. I really like the feel of the paints in the airbrush. It's really, really smooth, and their colours are just impeccable. And he was like, oh, that's a real shame. I don't do AK Interactive, but I do Ammo MIG. I was like, oh, I'll use them too. I think they're almost interchangeable. They're the two different brands are almost inseparable. I think that they are. They started off as the same company and branched off. So we got talking, and I bought some bits and pieces from Brooks. Really, genuinely nice people. I believe husband and wife outfit, and just such a wonderful range of stuff. And I would really like you to go and check them out. That's Brooks Models. They're right at the top of the list, I believe, in the new list that I've just made down there. So after the show, obviously not right now, go and check them out a little bit later on. And if you need some new supplies, be it tape or milliput or thinner or just some new tools or whatever, go and check these guys out. And if you do buy anything from them, maybe just drop them a line and just say that you found them through Easy 8, because it's always nice to know where your customers come from. And it makes me feel a bit better about myself. And then, of course, subscribe to the show so that you get more and more of this kind of community effect. Yeah, community. If you're working on something this evening, come and tell me all about it. I want to know. We're not just here on YouTube. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and Discord. And you can join me on Discord at the end of the show on a live chat if you want to. Don't have to, but choice is yours. To the workbench. To the workbench. Gremlins in the show, man. Yeah. It's not rehearsed. It's not scripted, warts and all. That's what you get. Anyway, you can see here that I've been pulling my airbrush apart. I just wanted to see if there was any big clogs. There wasn't really anything. No really big clogs or anything in the airbrush. The little bit of stuff, little bit of residue left over in the nozzle. That's what I've got right here. So this goes inside there, a little cap over it. Paint comes out the paint chamber, obviously, and sometimes on the inside paint can dry, and if it very, very tiny hole for it to come out of, and if it dries in there, it can cause quite a bit of a blockage. And I think that was what the spattering effect was. Normally I could just see a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel. Yep, I can see through there clearly. That all looks good to me. Pop it in the protective cap. And inside the paint chamber, I can't see any light through the tunnel. And that could just be there's like a little bit of watery paint left in there. So what I do is I take the needle out, and to protect the tip, which you really should, I just push it through backwards. Just push it through in the direction that paint should go. See if there's anything on the end there. And there's nothing really coming out. And that's fine. Could just be like a bit of watery paint. The surface tension of the water kind of creates like a little bit of an air bubble. Yeah, there we go. Now I can see through there. Again, just try and see the insides of the paint chamber walls. There's like a little bit of paint in there, tiny amount of like not dried up paint. Quite easy to see. Getting glitter in places you don't want glitter. It's exactly the same thing, yeah, man. I'm building a tank for a change, says Staff. Yeah, Staff's always doing tanks. The go-go dances. There is still a distinct lack of go-go dances. It's a family show, mate. However, there was a big talk about Hooters when we went away. I can't remember where the conversation went astray, but yeah, we're not. I don't think that's going to happen on this show. I think we just need to get used to that. I don't think I'm going to touch it with a barge pole anymore, that subject. I just don't I think my partner would be very happy with me about that. Well, there we go. There's that done, isn't it? Right. Tell us, Stafford, what, please, for the love of God, tell us what it is that you are working on. What project are you working on? You say you're building a tank. What tank are you building? Is it the Fireflies that you bought when we went away? Howdy's turned into Hooters. Oh, yeah, there we go. We went and ate at Howdy's, didn't we? Oh, there are some, look at that, there's tiny little speckles in the paint chamber in there. Let's just pick those up. Pop the needle back in. I always pop the needle in through the front, backwards, so it goes in the right direction, obviously, but just saves the needle tip being damaged against anything on the inside. Pull it all the way back in. I just temporarily lock it in place so it doesn't slip forwards. There we go, and now I can put the nozzle on without damaging the tip at all. Pop that on like that. Yeah. Neatly in place. Loosen off the needle again, push him forward until he sits comfortably. Tighten them up, check the action. That's smooth, very smooth. Pop his butt back on. Got a little bit of paint in the hopper that's dried in there now. Make sure that that's all come away. Excellent. Got over there. Bit of a tidy up. Lush. And hopefully we'll be able now to carry on undercoating without any problems at all. Hopefully. Fingers crossed, right? Ace. That's a nice smooth action on there. I'm going to put a bit of water through there just to help clean out anything that might have come out in that cleaning process. I can tell normally by how fast the water drains away in there, by how that tells me how clean it is. Get any air bubbles or it starts spitting on the way. I know there's probably a problem in there, and that does look and feel quite clean. It probably needs to go in the sonic bath after this. There's Shiv saying you have to love the Harder and Steenbeck floating nozzles. What do you actually like them, or do you not like them? Do you find them handy, or is it a bit of a nuisance? I quite like them, but I don't really have any other experience with any other brand, so I don't know like how it compares. But yeah, I'd love to know what your thoughts are on it. Yeah, that's a strong drink. Yikes. Right. Okay. Or undercoating here. Now I'm not going to put as much undercoating here as I did in the last run. If I've got anything left over, I'm going to pop it on the Space Marine parts. Probably have a little bit left over. That's kind of why I've got the projects going at the same time. I put it in the wrong way again. Put it in the wrong order. Inner info. Okie dokie. So, still working on the torso section here. Just going to get all the parts that I haven't done. You can see like where I've been coming at certain angles. There are areas that that is coming out much smoother. There are angles that I haven't been spraying the paint at on this part yet. You can see the little grey areas that haven't received any paint. I just need to make sure that I get all those angles fully. I'm also one of those guys that doesn't wear gloves, so I'm going to get this all over my fingers. So I do try to keep my fingers out of it as much as I possibly can. Hold air. I've got a hairdryer as well for just heating things up. But when you're using a small amount of paint and going over a bit of cold air, you don't always have to get the hairdryer out straight away. Has anybody finished any projects recently? I'd love to know about any finished projects. I finished a few projects recently. There's things that I said I would have finished a long time ago, but I didn't because I lie to you all the time. But I've made little short videos on the YouTube channel. Go and check them out because I'm really happy with them. I've just taken some photographs and put some music to them, and you can kind of see like the finalised things. And while they're not masterpieces, I'm really proud of them. They look really cool, and I will try to do it as much as I possibly can. Make some little shorts for YouTube, and the more that people engage with them, the more that we will find new community members, etc. So yeah, give them your support and watch them and share them with your friends, etc. But of course, if you've finished any projects, I'd love to know about it because that's what this show's all about: is getting projects done, right? We've all got hordes and hordes of grey plastic, resin, or even lead models perhaps. Some of you are fans of the lead. Quickly. Back to the legs ever so quickly, just to make sure that I've covered as much of it as I possibly can. I've just realised I didn't put my gasket back in. What an error. Well, hopefully I'm not getting paint blowing back out through the inside of the airbrush. It's flowing well. There is no seal that is preventing paint from coming back, so it's going to need a thorough clean after this show. It's working fine though. That is the first time I've ever done that. Do you know, I thought I put that together quite fast. Staff telling me off. It's not a hairdryer. You're right. It's a Easy 8 Drymatic. Thank you so much. Cool. Right. That is painted. Cool. Right. I'm really interested to see how well paint takes to this, and one of the things that I really want to start on this project is the bolt gun, because it's a really simple project, and it's a nice individual thing, and it feels like a separate project. If I did this and finished it before the rest of the marine, yay, small wins, right? So yeah, let's just see how well this takes to it. I feel really bad that I've not put my gasket back in. What's the point of even having a gasket if it works this well? It's going to need a proper strip clean in a bit. Just like me, I could do with a strip clean. If you brought your family along, I'm so sorry. Sorry, I blame it on the community. Some comments. Necromunda Scenery, when we go on Discord after, says crumbs. Brilliant. Love to see that. Stafford does confirm he's building the Fireflies. A German player. This is completely random. Love a Firefly though. We play Water Tanker. It's a great game. Fireflies are actually quite slow, but my god, have they got a good cannon in comparison to the rest of the allied vehicles. Comparable with a Panther. Really good for taking out Panthers as well. But they're slow. Slower tanks. And apparently that is an accurate thing, like, because they carried bigger, heavier ammunition and a much bigger gun, they were slower, but I've not had that confirmed. Other comments going in. I think Dave has joined us. Dave, if you have joined us, hit those hearts, because I know that sometimes you struggle to join in the live chat. If you're watching right now, Dave, hit those hearts so I know that you're watching. I adore the floating nozzles, says Shiv. I had a Sparmax that had a screw-on nozzle, and it's just too much of a pain to use. Is that just because it's too difficult to constantly take apart to clean, like ongoing maintenance, etc.? Because the cap screws on to the harder in the Steenbeck, but the nozzle's obviously a floating affair, isn't it? Yeah, interesting. I know that Sparmax is more of a budget entry, but an airbrush is an airbrush, man, you know? I'm getting weird music cues. This is normally the music that I'm finishing the show with. I know we're about 25 minutes away, but it's really thrown me through a hoop. Realised I was out of shot there. So sorry. I haven't seen any hearts flying around in the live chat there, Stafford. Maybe Dave hasn't got any hearts to give, or maybe he's not watching, or maybe he's not watching right now. Maybe he's got it on mute and he can't hear me say, throw those hearts up. So, yeah. Maybe he had to run back. Maybe he's painting. Maybe he's got his hands full. It's a painting show, obviously. So, yeah. I'd just like to know if you're there, Dave. I love you. I miss you. Oh, I've just run out of paint. Cool, good, righto. Pop that. Got a bit of a cable tangle going on here, but the Easy 8 Dryer-matic Thanks, Stafford. Oh, I saw hearts. I saw hearts. I saw them. Hi, Dave. So, Kez, you will remember a conversation we were having just earlier on today. You're talking about your mechs and the vehicles that have come with your latest Kickstarter, how to paint the turrets because they were kind of lying down a little bit when you had them all kind of lined up to be primed. So what I was referring to was putting skewers on them, literally super glue them on into an area where you don't mind, or it's probably you're going to see less underneath the turret, perhaps in the turret hole. Because when it's dried, it means that you can obviously hold it like this. It means you've got an almost complete 360 spherical approach to painting, be it spray cans, airbrush, paintbrush, whatever. And then to hold it, so you have to put it down like that where you want it drying, is to either, if you've got crocodile clips on a frame that can hold them, or big block of foam or polystyrene. I've got some foam with some holes. Bob's your uncle. That's what I meant earlier on. So it means that I can put anything that I've got in sub-assemblies just like that. So you saw it with all the turrets now. Wonderful. Excellent. You stay there. Lovely. Right. Well, I definitely need to flush the airbrush. So, can't believe I didn't put my... What an idiot. Didn't put the gasket in. Let's get a bit of water through there. What a doofus. You know what? We're only human. I certainly am. Okie dokie. So I've basically now I've just got to do the whole thing all over again. I'm just going to take the nozzle out, which sits in the cap in there. Unscrew the needle. I push it forwards. See the primer is on. Take the needle clamp out. Get the trigger out. And then hopefully not too mucky inside. It's not. That is great. I'm just going to get a... I've got loads of these. Do you know what? I'm gonna pitch this to you. If you are using cotton buds, and they are very handy, for whatever application you're using them for, please use the wooden ones, the plastic ones. There's no need for that amount of plastic. I know that could be, oh, you're just trying to be green. Yeah, I am. I am. We need to be really responsible as model crafters in whatever we're doing. If we're painting or if we're making or whatever, we use a lot of plastic. We waste a lot of plastic when you consider sprues and things like that. And it absolutely applies to the tools and the other bits and pieces that we're using too. We use these so much and so liberally, which is kind of like cast them to the side once we're done. Please don't use the plastic ones. Go and buy some wooden ones. These are like little bamboo bits. And I bought a whole box of them, like a bag of them, sorry, like 300 of them for about £2. I know trees get chopped down for wood. You know the score. Just be responsible. All I ask. Be responsible. Now, in here, this is where the airflow comes in. It goes right up the side there. There's a spring with a little button in there. The trigger pushes that down and supplies air. What I'm a little bit worried about is that paint was kind of going in there, but I can see that is pretty pristine in there. So as long as where the gasket's going is clean, I'm happy. You know, a little bit in there. I've cleaned out the paint chamber at the bottom. There's a little bit of paint on the inside of the hopper. Basically, over a long period of time, the chromed surface, or the highly nickel-plated surface, I roads away with paint sat inside the hopper and all the chemicals and stuff that we can put in there. And it kind of leaves it as a slightly rougher surface. I think it is slightly more brushed inside as well. Paint just really sticks to that. It's not really going to come off unless I start really agitating it. I'm not really worried about that right now. Cool. I'm going to have a quick check at the gasket, make sure there's no paint on the inside of it. Brilliant. There's a little gasket seal in there. That's the white thing. And there's a little brass screw. And what I like to do is I'll clean the needle off quickly, because otherwise I'll be putting more grub all the way through there. Clean that up like that. I like to put the gasket, which I placed. There. Where is the gasket? There it is. Such a small thing to lose. I'm going to put it on the needle forwards, and then I put the needle in backwards, and that means it just lines up into the holes nice and easily. I don't have to worry about it being a pain in the backside. I do have a screwdriver for it, but actually my tweezer clamps fit it perfectly. So I just was in there. They work just as well. Just one less tool to have lying around the workshop. There we are. The gasket is in. Clean that needle off again, because it's picked up a little bit of paint residue going through. A bit of dried paint on the end, so what I've got here is, well, I could use some cleaner, but means I've got to take the cap off the cleaner. Some thinner will do the same job. There we go. Just clean the tip of the needle down, because that's basically a surface that other paint will cling to and start drying on, and it snowballs basically, and that's how you will end up getting a little clog on the end, and you'll start getting a spatter. Put the trigger back in, make sure the trigger goes in the right way around. Lovely. And I pop the needle clamp in. That's just the way I do it. You can do it this way as well if you want to. Push the needle all the way through. Okay. Then you can slide the needle clamp onto the needle. You can do it whichever way you want. I like to push the trigger down when I'm pushing the needle clamp in. Just makes it a little bit easier. Needle all the way back. I can see the tip of it in the paint chamber. Lovely. Put the cap on with the nozzle in it, obviously. Slide the needle forwards. Oh, I can see a little bit of rubbish came out the nozzle there. There we go. That up. A little bit of water. People always say to me, "Oh, I see you using the airbrush, and I can see that it takes a lot of cleaning and a lot of maintenance. Maybe I won't get one." Get one. I just make it look worse. I'm not very good, and I make a lot of mistakes, as you can see. Get one. You'll be better than me very quickly. And it takes as much maintenance and cleaning as a normal paintbrush does, so don't let it put you off. It's really, really fun. It will make you grow as a painter. So, yeah, get one, man. I am gonna leave it there for now. I think I want to put a little bit of varnish on him, because I know I'm probably gonna need it. Handling this is going to come off on me a lot. I'm going to be putting masking tape on it, and that might pull it away a little bit. So I think I'm going to put a little bit of varnish in there. And because I ran out of matte varnish, not last Saturday, but the Friday before last I was in the studio, I bought from Bow and Blade Games, more on those in a week or two. a really big pot of ultra matte polyurethane varnish. So this is basically the same varnish I've been using, but it's an ultra matte one. And if I want matte varnish, if I want a matte finish, I want matte finish. I don't want a little bit of matte. I want matte. Hello, Matt. So yeah, cool, man. Matte varnish. We'll put a bit thinner with this because, like I say, varnish can be really quite aggressive. I wonder how thin this is. Oh, it's actually quite a bit thinner than what I'm using. I am not going to use any thinner with this for now. I want to see how difficult it is to clean. Because if there's one less thing for me to worry about, it's one less thing, right? Yeah, there you go. Airbrush 2, Return of the Gasket. Now I put the gasket in, it's not going to work, right? Oh, it's working. Cool. Right. Hold it by that leg. Do the right leg first. Get that with a little bit of fresh air from the airbrush. So one of the things that is really starting to show now that I've got some colour on it is that the print lines on the side, I can see that it was angled like that on the build plate. And sometimes, like just behind the hip joint here, you might be able to see there's like a little matte area where it's almost like the matte varnish really isn't getting into. The matte varnish isn't getting into it, it's not really going to bother me that much. I don't think I'm going to put any paint off them in there. I can sit there and just spray it and spray it and spray it with this stuff. It's going in there, man. It's fine. It's all cool. Now, if I did a layer of this at the rate that I'm doing it after every single coat, I'm probably going to end up making it like 95% extra resin. So I want to be very careful about how much varnishing I do to it. But I'm quite aware that as I start adding layers on, I could end up starting pulling bits off, and I just want to make that initial layer, I just want to make it a little bit more resistant to me handling it and tooling it, basically. I'm just going to pop that there and I'll come back for the next leg in a sec. Again, hitting that with some cold air. Kess has got to go. Bye everyone. Got a 14-hour workday tomorrow and I'm not feeling 100%, so I'm off to bed. Thanks for stopping by, even though you're not feeling very well and you've got such a long day ahead of you. I used to work really long days all the time. I know what it's like. 14-hour day sounds rubbish, mate. So go and have the best day that you possibly can. Thank you for coming in and saying hello. Thank you for this mech that I'm painting, by the way. It's really kind of you to give that to me. And I hope that tomorrow you feel better and it goes really well. So go chill out, man. See you later. Thanks for stopping in. Can't help noticing that my anti-shine ultra matte varnish has got a certain amount of glossy shine to it. We'll see how that goes. Like. I've just had a thought actually about trying to get that toe back on to protect it. Once it's been glued, it's never going to be as strong as it ever was. So I was thinking actually I could build a base for it, because it hasn't got a base. You could build a base and it can also glue onto the floor, and that'll make it like really difficult to damage. So I think that might be an interesting way to go. And I was also thinking, just in a space of a few seconds, that I could do the base as a hexagonal base, because traditionally Mech Warrior, or sorry, Battletech, and all of the versions of Battletech have always traditionally been, I've used hexagonal bases for directions of arc of fire and facing and things, and they also then go on a hex board as well. So I think it might be quite a nice little way of, you know, making a bigger model, you know, look bigger, because they're traditionally quite small. Well, this varnish is surprisingly going far, so yeah, got some varnish to get rid of. What do I do with this varnish? Probably pop it on this bad boy, right? Normally we're finishing to this music. Weird to hear it through. Welcome to Easy 8, where we're really rubbish and amateur. It's a song, I just made that up. Glad I sang that. Right, I think that's all I'm going to get out of this. I don't want to like go crazy with... Ace. The only thing I can really do with this now is water it down and just push it through into the purge tank. That's kind of what it's there for. Stafford says, "Oh no, my rum glass is empty." Well, do you know what? My vodka glass isn't. Oh my gosh, the vapour coming out of there is incredible. Building up quite a bit in there. This is a very different type of varnish that I'm using here. I normally use... where is it? I've lost a little pot, but here's a satin varnish one. This came in a big box of paints that I bought, like a multi-set of simple Vallejo airbrush paints, and it came with the pack. I've got a gloss, satin, and a matte, and the glosses in there are very thick and white. This here you can see is mostly transparent. You can see it in the hopper there that it's kind of got a little bit of opacity to it, but it's like halfway house really. And it's not as viscous. I know it's an ultra matte, but it's a totally different product altogether. Very peculiar, and it seems to go much further. I'm literally having to waste it out onto the sheet here just so that I can get through it. I'm going to water it down. There we go. You can see it's kind of got like a milkiness to it, cloudiness to it. Let's mix it up. Brush. Really dilute it down so I can push it through into the purge tank. I've got my hand over the purge tank here because there's a lot of paint vapor coming out from the purge tank, which is quite unusual. I just don't want to go to all of my equipment. If you have vapor coming out of your vodka glass, it's definitely too strong. It's not out of the vapor, out of the vodka glass. It's coming out of the airbrush here. There we go. Could you see that on the camera? Yes, that's sinister. Danny does not like that. Anyway, there we go. I am going to give that airbrush a really good clean out later on. It's going to need it. I've been giving it the business today. So, okay. What have I got here? I have got a shiny looking mech. It's a bit worrying, isn't it? Maybe it needs shaking or mixing in with something. But I've got a mech that is completely primed, undercoated, black, and protected a little bit. What I'm going to do now, I think, is I'm going to spray... I was going to spray the whole thing silver, but I don't want to do that because I know that silver could be really tricky to paint over. But silver would mean that I would get all the mechanical parts on there. If we were to look back at the picture of the catapult, the other mech from earlier, you'll know that there's like the joints and certain parts of the limbs are silver, and then like the bodywork is painted over top of it. So, for example, I could, if I point with a brush, I could paint like the joint on the inside in here silver. That's that circle. I could paint the mechanical parts in there silver. Basically, to make it look like the structural parts and armors bolted on over the top. I think I could paint these little details in here silver. Maybe even this leg bit down here, this kind of line down here silver as well. And then all of these blocky parts that fit onto it would be the coloured parts, if you like. So they would be greyed, and then the blue and then the teal colour would go on over the top of those. Looking at the mech here, very little of it I think would be silver. Most of it would be grey. But there probably are components and areas and things that I can silver. I think what I need to do is basically map out what parts I want. And that's going to be a little bit more than sitting here for the remainder of the show, which is only a few minutes for those of you that aren't keeping track of time. Sorry. Obviously, I said earlier on that I think it would be nice if the cockpit was silvered, but the cockpit on this is very, very different than the cockpit on the other one. That one has a more traditional sort of aircraft cockpit. This one here is very, very different. You can see here. It's only got a little window there, one on the front, and then two little ones on the side here. There's a third one in there as well. Very, very small, even for the scale there's that. Weapon barrels probably be silver. Components here on here will be silver. What I might do as well is actually go and have a quick look at the model on the video game, where this has come from. It's a direct copy of the model from that game, and have a little look and see how a lot of the textures, the paint maps or whatever are put together in there, and just make it look really, really nice. I could airbrush the whole thing grey. It kind of feels like maybe I should have done the primer in grey to start with. But one of the problems I've always had with grey primer is that if you're spraying it onto grey plastic, or in this case grey resin, you can't quite see where it's gone. So I don't think there'll be much harm in me going over with grey primer, other than the fact I think it's quite light and I want it to be mid to dark. Is that I could actually use this as a base. So I'm using two primers. This is like a base paint, where it could help me with shadowing and rendering and things like that. So there's lots of things to think about. I'm not certainly going to make that decision right now here on the show. What I'm going to do in a minute is I'm going to strip the airbrush down and give it a really, really good clean. And while I'm having such luck with priming tonight and going probably over the next sort of 24 hours, maybe a couple of days, I'm going to start priming all of the components for this McFarlane Marine and make sure that basically it's in the same sort of state. This Marine is going to be green. It's a Dark Angels Marine, so it's going to be a very dark colour green. I've got a Vallejo version of the Dark Angels green here, which is very, very dark. This will be the darkest that it will be, so that I can work up. I don't want it to be completely dark. I don't want it to be, you know, it just looks like a dark green bottle, if you like. But this will be the darkest, and I can highlight up from there. I don't really know how I'm going to go for it. I was thinking I might go quite traditional and make it almost box arty, but I think that might make it look a bit tacky. I've also seen some really good sort of photorealistic attempts at people doing them online as well. And while there is the temptation to want to go quite different from what it would be just like a small model made bigger, I don't really know how I would make it different. So it's still a miniature, you know. It still needs to be different. Sorry, it still needs to be similar in some respects. So I don't really know how to make this guy. He just needs to be primed. He needs to be painted, and I'm just going to make it up as I go along. And I'm going to try my best to not get too involved in it. I just want to have some fun, because I know that just by putting it together, paint's going to probably come off. If that, you know, paint him black. Paint him black because you want him to be blood angels, don't you? Blood angels. Not all blood angels are red. Some of them are black as well. I don't think your vodka can be too strong. You can drink it, or you can run your tank on it. You run a Sherman on it. Do you know? I don't know. Actually, don't think you can. No. Rolling Stones. What do you mean by Rolling Stones? I don't understand. Oh, painted black, right? Yeah, of course. Stupid. Shut up and drink your drink, Danny. Yeah, so lots of things to be done on here. There is a little screen on his arm here that I didn't really pay much attention to. I saw someone else painting a version of this online, and they did a very good job of it, and they did a little bit of glow effects around it. It was like, oh yeah, because the newer Primaris Marines are supposed to have screens on their arms. I've seen some models where they've got like a little flip-up hatch, almost like the Predator style thing, if you like. Which is probably why I didn't take any notice of it, and I've always seen it on the other arm. But got a couple of little buttons, little doohickeys, a little screen so that you can watch his Netflix or whatever. Maybe you can tune into a little bit of Easy 8 Online Painting Club. It'd be kind of cool if I did a picture of me on there, wouldn't it? I'm not that good. So yeah, pre-Heresy Dark Angels, paint it black. No, I'm definitely not gonna, because it's a Primaris Marine, so you can't have pre-Heresy Primaris. Yeah, also don't want to paint it black. I just don't want to paint a big black model. It would be really hard. Got his head over here. Yeah. I've reinforced some of the bits of super glue with blue tack. I don't know if that was going to be helpful, but I thought, you know what, I'll put it in there anyway. So yeah, going to paint it all. I don't quite know how I'm going to go ahead and paint this fella. If it's all going to go as far detailed as I possibly can, then put him together, or if I'm going to do it to a certain degree and then put him together and then carry it on. I've been watching a lot of been watching a lot of people on YouTube, etc., and they've mostly suggested go to a certain point, put it together, and then kind of do the detail work afterwards, because putting them together you run the risk of like damaging the paintwork that you've already done, and if you've done like really intensive work on it, then it's going to be really upsetting. So I think that's probably the advice I'm going to take. There we go. It's just a day of priming today, really, isn't it? Anyway, thank you for watching me if you've come this far. Let me come away from here and back to here. Thanks for watching so far. If you've had any issues with this camera, if you've seen little digital glitches or anything like that, please let me know. You don't just have to wait here or wait till next week or whatever. You can drop it as a comment. When this video is finished, it takes a little while. It kind of gets post-processed by YouTube to make sure that I'm not, I suppose, ripping off music that I haven't paid for, etc. So you can comment on it like any normal video after the post-processing period. You can always drop me a line. You can tell me on Facebook. You can come tell me on Discord as well if you want to. Because we're not just here on YouTube, we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, we're on Discord. Links to all of our platforms are just downstairs down there, so go and check them out with a host of other links for other people's services, traders, etc. Please go and check them out. One of those people is Brooks Models that I was just talking about a minute ago, and a host of other people. One of them is my dad at Purple Iron Creations, so go and check him out too, because shameless family plug. There you go. Let me know what you think of the stream. Most importantly, if you like what we do here, please do give us a subscribe if you haven't already. Maybe you think you know someone who might benefit from a little social club online, because that's what it is, just a place for you to come along and paint your models with the company of others. And yeah, sometimes I get things wrong and I forget to put the gasket in my airbrush because I'm a noob, basically. I'm a 43-year-old noob. I never learn. Anyway, last few comments going in there. According to the law, you can. No, you're wrong. Angel of Absolution. I don't know what colour scheme they are, but maybe they're black. Thank you for the stream. You are most welcome. Cheers. Nice show. Tab very much. Thank you very much for coming along, everybody. I really appreciated your company. Thank you to all the new subscribers. Please give us a thumbs up if you haven't done already. Hit the little bell icon, all the extra things. Love you very much. See you next week. Take care for now. Until next week, stay safe, be kind, and get some colour on your grey. See ya. Bye-bye. How does one forget a gasket? Just, you've been doing this for a long time, man. So stupid.